Have you ever felt the chill of someone smiling while quietly twisting your truth? They call it care, but every word feels like a thread tightening around your mind. Manipulators don't attack, they guide you into surrender. Yet the Stoic learns to see without reacting, to wait without breaking. Stay here. You're about to learn how silence wins every war. As we step into the first chapter, picture this. You're sitting across from someone who speaks softly, smiles often, and seems to know exactly what to say to make you doubt yourself. Their voice drips with reassurance, yet every word hides a hook. You walk away, questioning your own judgment, not realizing that a quiet storm just passed through your mind. That's how manipulation begins, not with a strike, but with a whisper. Now imagine watching that same scene through the eyes of a Stoic. Instead of reacting, you observe. Instead of defending, you study. You don't let their tone drag you into confusion, you let their actions reveal themselves. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If anyone can show me that I am mistaken, I will gladly change. But what if no one is showing you the truth, only bending it? Then the duty of clarity becomes yours. You must see through the smoke before you breathe it in." Manipulators thrive on speed. They rush your emotions, push your buttons, make you answer before you think. They know that once you react, you belong to them. But the Stoic understands that nothing owned by haste can endure. So you slow time down. You let silence stretch long enough for deceit to show its seams. Because lies, when left alone, begin to tremble. I remember meeting someone years ago who wrapped every sentence in kindness. They praised my discipline, my work ethic, my focus. It felt good, too good. And then came the subtle questions, the small requests, the emotional exchanges that somehow always left me giving more than I received. It took months before I saw the pattern. The compliments were currency, and I was the bank. But once I stopped reacting, once I began watching instead of explaining, the illusion broke. Their charm didn't fade, it cracked. Seneca warned us, you must live for yourself before you can live for anyone else. That's not selfishness, it's defense. When you see through the game, you stop mistaking manipulation for connection. You realize that not everyone who listens to you has your peace in mind. Some listen only to map your weaknesses, to find the doorways into your trust. And if you aren't aware of that, you will open those doors yourself. So, what does seeing the game really mean? It means studying people the way you would study the weather, not to control it, but to prepare for it. It means recognizing patterns instead of personalities. It means watching what people repeat, not what they promise. A manipulator's mask always slips in repetition. Their stories change, their tones shift, their eyes flicker when the script no longer fits the moment. But you must be still enough to notice. Clarity is not born in confrontation, it's born in patience. The Stoics called it prosos, the discipline of attention. It's the art of watching your own mind as carefully as you watch the world. When you practice it, you stop being a participant in manipulation and start becoming its witness. And once you witness it, the illusion loses power. Because truth, when seen clearly, no longer fears deceit. Let's make this real. The next time someone flatters you too quickly, step back inside yourself. Ask silently, what do they gain if I believe this? The next time someone plays the victim to draw you closer, ask, what happens if I don't respond? In those questions lies your freedom. You will start to feel something strange, detachment, not coldness, but a calm curiosity that disarms every false move around you. Epictetus reminded us, when someone is stirred against you, Remember that it is not the person who troubles you, but your own opinion about them. The manipulator isn't your enemy, it's your perception that gives them strength. Change your perception, and their influence dissolves. That's the Stoics' first strike to see, not to fight. In the beginning, this awareness feels lonely. You'll notice things others don't. The tone shifts, the hidden motives, the subtle calculations behind kindness. But solitude is the price of vision. The blind walk in crowds, the seeing often walk alone. Yet from that solitude comes a quiet power, the kind that cannot be manipulated because it cannot be deceived. When you start to see manipulation as a mirror instead of a threat, you grow beyond it. You begin to study not just the deceiver, but the part of yourself that wanted to believe them. That's where mastery begins, because you can't outsmart what you still seek to please. So observe, don't absorb. Watch every smile the way a sailor watches the wind, grateful for its direction, cautious of its strength. When people try to rush you into decisions, remember, urgency is the language of control. Slow the pace. Make time your ally. In stillness, truth emerges like sediment settling in clear water. And when you finally see it, the pattern, the play, the quiet theft of your peace, don't react. Just know that knowing alone is your victory, because the Stoic doesn't expose manipulators. He outlasts them, calmly, silently, with the unshakable clarity of someone who has already seen the game for what it is. And from here, we move deeper into the silence that makes manipulators tremble. Moving into the second chapter, imagine standing in the center of a storm, voices rising, accusations flying, eyes fixed on you, waiting for a reaction. Every instinct in your body wants to fight back, to defend your name, to make them see your truth. But in that split second, you remember something the Stoics knew well: the storm only has power if you step into it. You breathe, you stay still, you watch. Here's the truth: few are willing to face. Most people don't want clarity, they want control. And when they can't have it through reason, they take it through emotion. They provoke you, not because they seek answers, but because your reaction feeds them. Manipulators don't fear your logic, they fear your composure. So the first battle is not against them, it's against the tremor inside your chest. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." That single sentence carries the weight of every confrontation you'll ever face. The manipulator's weapon is not their words, it's your uncontrolled response. They build traps from tone and silence, testing which emotion breaks you fastest. Anger, shame, fear. Once they find it, they own you. The Stoic refuses to be owned. I remember a meeting long ago where someone tried to humiliate me in front of others. Their words were calculated, wrapped in politeness, but dipped in venom. For a moment, I felt the heat rise. The urge to correct them burned through my throat. But then I paused. I asked myself, if I speak now, am I defending the truth or my ego? I stayed quiet. Their laughter filled the room for a few seconds, then died quickly. Because silence does what shouting never can, it exposes insecurity. The moment passed, and the truth stood untouched. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." That's not just a quote, it's a weapon. It reminds you that emotional control is the highest form of strategy. Every manipulator tries to drag you into the arena of emotion, because in that arena, logic bleeds. But when you remain the observer, unmoved, unbothered, you shift the balance. They fight shadows, you stand in light. There's a reason soldiers train before battle. Not because they expect calm, but because they must create calm. You train your mind the same way. every provocation, every insult, every false accusation. It's your sparring ground. The Stoics called this preparation premeditation malform, the rehearsal of adversity. When you imagine the storm before it hits, you're not caught off guard when it arrives. You respond, not react. Observation isn't passive, it's precision. It means watching how people choose their words, when they pause, how they shift when questioned. You learn to hear what's not said. Manipulators rely on chaos, they cannot survive clarity. When you meet their energy with stillness, they lose direction. Your calm becomes their confusion. Think of a chess master. He doesn't slam his pieces on the board. He waits, studies, moves when ready. That's Stoic composure in human form. Each silence is a move, each pause a statement. When others rush to fill the air, your restraint makes them wonder what you know that they don't. That's power, not domination, but depth. Seneca warned, "He who angers you conquers you." It's not just poetic, it's brutally true. Every time you rise to a provocation, you surrender a piece of yourself. Every argument, every heated exchange, every attempt to prove your innocence to someone committed to misunderstanding you, it all chips away at your peace. But when you choose observation over outrage, you reclaim every piece you once gave away. I once saw a man handle betrayal with the composure of stone. His partner lied, his friend turned cold, yet he didn't flinch. Someone asked him how he could stay so calm. He smiled and said, "Because anger is the luxury of the unprepared." That line struck me deep. He wasn't cold, he was centered. He understood that storms end faster when you stop fueling them. You begin to see that calm is not the absence of emotion, it's the mastery of it. Observation gives you distance, and distance gives you clarity. From clarity comes power, the kind that doesn't shout, doesn't explain, doesn't seek to be understood. It simply is. When manipulation comes, meet it with silence that cuts deeper than argument. Let their words echo into their own emptiness. You're not required to correct every lie or chase every misunderstanding. Time does that better than you ever could. So, the next time someone twists your truth, don't rush to untangle it. Watch. See what their need to control reveals about them. See what your urge to react reveals about you. That's how the Stoic wins, not by fighting harder, but by seeing clearer. The storm will always return. It always does. But now you know how to stand in its center without being touched. And from that stillness we move forward into the silence that disarms every deceiver who dares to speak. Entering the third chapter, imagine a moment when someone's words cut deep, not with volume, but with precision. They twist a truth, they mock your calm, they wait for the spark. You feel the heat rise inside your chest, that urge to speak, to set the record straight. But something stops you. A quiet voice within says, "Not this time." So you breathe, stay silent, and simply look at them. In that stillness, something shifts. Their control begins to crumble. This is where the Stoic lives, in the quiet spaces between provocation and response. Silence is not retreat. It's revelation. It turns their manipulation into a mirror. What they see reflected is not your anger, not your defense, but their own emptiness echoing back at them. Seneca once wrote, "To be angry is to revenge the faults of others upon ourselves. The wise don't waste breath on proving points. They let the silence do what words cannot." A manipulator feeds on reaction the way a fire feeds on air. Each defense, each justification is oxygen. But silence, pure, intentional silence, suffocates the fire without a fight. You watch their frustration grow as they realize their words no longer reach you. They may talk louder, try harder, even accuse you of arrogance. But you've already won the only battle that matters, the one within. I remember once standing in a crowded room when someone tried to humiliate me. Their joke landed heavy, sharp, and deliberate. Everyone waited for my response. The old version of me would have explained, argued, maybe laughed it off to ease the tension. But that day, I just looked at them, calm, still, detached. The silence was long enough for discomfort to spread across the room. The joke stopped being funny. The crowd turned uneasy, not with me, but with them. Silence had drawn the line I didn't need to speak. Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." Silence is exactly that. It's your refusal to become what they are. While they seek chaos, you offer clarity. While they weaponize words, you guard your peace. Your quietness becomes a reflection of their noise, and in that reflection, they begin to see the truth of themselves. But silence must not be passive. It's not about avoiding confrontation, it's about mastering it through stillness. Think of it as a sword sheathed, not discarded. It's ready, but restrained. The Stoic doesn't swing wildly. He waits for the right moment, or no moment at all. Because often, the highest form of power is to not use it. There's an elegance to silence that words rarely achieve. When you withhold your reaction, you hold your dignity. You communicate that not everything deserves your energy. Not every attack deserves an answer. People mistake silence for weakness because they've never stood long enough in it to feel its weight. But silence carries power. It carries judgment. It carries truth. Sometimes silence is the final teacher. It exposes motives faster than confrontation. When you say nothing, you force others to face themselves without distraction. The manipulator cannot handle that kind of reflection. It strips away their mask. You can almost see it happen, the shift in their eyes, the discomfort in their posture as they realize their performance has lost its audience. And yet, silence isn't about punishing them. It's about preserving you. The Stoics taught that the world will always test your composure, but no one can take your peace unless you offer it. Silence is the act of closing the gate. You don't slam it, you simply stop opening it for chaos to walk through. Think of the ocean. When the wind screams above it, the surface rages, but beneath, the deep water remains still. That's Stoic silence, not absence, but depth. The deeper you go within yourself, the less the noise above can touch you. Manipulators live on the surface. They cannot breathe where you dwell. In this quiet mastery, you realize something profound. You don't need to be understood to be free. You don't need to prove innocence to anyone committed to misunderstanding you. Let them talk. Let them twist. You wait, and by waiting, you win. As Seneca said, "Nothing is more honorable than a quiet heart." And that's the heart of the Stoic way, to hold peace not as a reaction, but as a possession no one can steal. So the next time someone tries to provoke you, remember this silence is not the absence of power, it's its purest form. When you stop feeding their need for chaos, you starve their illusion of control. And in that moment, you will see the truth. Silence doesn't protect the weak. It reveals the strong. From here, we move into the next revelation, the moment you take back your power entirely, not through words, but by withdrawing the one thing manipulators crave most, your energy. At this stage, imagine standing before someone who twists every word you say. Their tone is calm, almost caring, but you can feel the trap beneath their politeness. You try to explain yourself, only to find your words turned against you, your meaning reshaped into something ugly. The harder you defend, the deeper you sink. That's when the Stoic within you wakes up, not to fight, but to question. Manipulators thrive on your defense. They crave reaction, not reason. They throw out bait, disguised as conversation, waiting for you to chase it. But you don't have to. When they aim their false logic at you, you disarm them with calm curiosity. You ask, not to win, but to reveal. What makes you think that? Why does this matter so much to you? Can you explain what you mean? Simple questions, gentle tone, yet they pierce deeper than accusation ever could. Seneca once wrote, "The truth is simple, but the mind of the liar is tangled." And that's what your questions do. They make them confront their own tangle. While they expect resistance, what they meet instead is reflection. The moment they're forced to explain their motives, the illusion begins to fracture. Manipulators hate mirrors, especially those built from calm words. I remember a conversation where someone tried to corner me with half-truths. They claimed I'd said things I hadn't, done things I didn't. My instinct was to defend, to set the record straight. But instead, I paused and said softly, "That's interesting. Why would you think I meant that?" The shift was immediate. Their voice faltered. They repeated themselves, trying to rebuild the story, but each word only exposed how hollow it was. I didn't have to raise my tone. I just had to ask questions that made the truth walk itself into the light. Marcus Aurelius taught, "If someone can show you the truth, accept it. But if they cannot, do not be disturbed." This is the essence of Stoic dialogue. You are not fighting for victory, you are uncovering clarity. When you argue, you feed emotion. When you inquire, you draw out intention. Calm questioning is the sword wrapped in silk. It doesn't slash, it reveals. The key is detachment. When you question without emotion, your tone becomes the anchor in a storm. The manipulator expects you to react, to defend, to plead for understanding. But when you simply seek clarity, their control dissolves. You're not rejecting them, you're exposing them. It's the kind of power that doesn't shout, it observes. Here's a truth the Stoics understood. People often condemn what they fear. Manipulators speak in circles because they fear exposure. They hide behind complexity because simplicity betrays them. So, your calm questions are not just words, they are light. And light is fatal to deceit. Imagine two people arguing in the dark. Both shout, both stumble. But when one person quietly lights a lamp, everything changes. You see who's trembling, who's bluffing, who's hiding. That lamp is your question, and you don't swing it like a weapon, you simply let it shine. There's a story I once heard about an old philosopher accused of hypocrisy by a loud critic in the public square. The philosopher didn't argue, he just asked, "Do you believe every accusation is true?" The critic hesitated. The crowd fell silent. With one question, the old man turned a crowd's judgment into reflection. That is Stoic mastery, not to dominate, but to awaken thought in others. Epictetus reminded us, when someone tries to provoke you, remember it is not the person who troubles you, but your opinion about them. Questions free you from that opinion. They keep your emotions outside the equation. You are no longer a player in their drama, you are the audience seeing the script for what it is. And sometimes the greatest victory is not making someone admit the truth. It's seeing it yourself and walking away in peace. Your clarity is their collapse. Your restraint is their undoing. So the next time someone twists your words, don't defend, disarm. Let their reasoning unravel under the weight of your calm curiosity. Ask the questions that only truth can answer, because the Stoic doesn't argue to win. He asks to see, and from that seeing, wisdom grows. You will start to notice that you no longer need the noise of confrontation to prove your strength. The calmness in your tone, the steadiness in your eyes, that's enough. That's power refined into grace. From here, the lesson deepens. Because once you learn to expose deceit with calm words, the next step is even greater, to protect your energy entirely, to stop feeding those who thrive on your reaction, and to master the art of silent withdrawal. From here, imagine the moment you finally see through them. The flattery, the guilt, the small manipulations, they no longer touch you. You've stopped defending, stopped explaining. But this is where the real battle begins, because once they sense you slipping away, they'll try to pull you back, not for love, but for control. Marcus Aurelius said, "You become what you give your attention to." That's your weapon. Every reaction is a gift. And the Stoic stops giving. You don't argue or announce your distance. You withdraw it. Quietly. Cleanly. You deny them what they feed on your emotional access. I once knew someone who could turn kindness into a chain. For years, I tried to fix it with patience, until I learned that patience, without boundaries, is surrender. One day I went silent, not in anger, but in peace. And the moment I did, strength returned. Epictetus taught, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Withdrawal isn't cruelty, it's mastery. It's when you stop chasing understanding from those who twist it. It's when peace becomes more important than being right. So guard your focus. Protect your calm. Let silence be your boundary. You owe no explanation to chaos, no closure to deceit. Walk away quietly and you'll find what they could never give you, yourself. At this stage, imagine walking through a world that watches more than it listens. Every word you reveal becomes a weapon in the wrong hands. Every plan you share becomes a path for others to follow or sabotage. You learn slowly that true strength rarely speaks of itself. It moves in silence. It works in shadow. It arrives, and people only notice when it's already done. Here's where the Stoic separates himself from the restless. Manipulators live off information. They study your reactions, your patterns, your dreams, waiting for something to twist. But when you move without announcing, when you act without warning, you leave them chasing shadows. They can't predict what they can't see. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." The same applies here. Don't talk about what you're building. Build it. Don't declare your boundaries. Live them. The less you reveal, the stronger your position becomes. Because power doesn't ask for validation, it simply exists. I once worked with someone who always needed to be seen. Every idea, every goal, every minor success, they had to announce it to the world. For a while, people praised them, but the more they spoke, the more they were watched. Expectations grew, envy followed. And when the results didn't match the noise, everything collapsed. I learned something that day: when your voice gets louder than your progress, you start digging your own grave. In contrast, the Stoic path is quieter. You don't need an audience to stay disciplined. You don't need witnesses to be consistent. Seneca said, "Work in silence and let your deeds speak." That's not humility, it's strategy. When you protect your intentions, you protect your peace. You don't owe anyone a preview of your next move. Think of a blade being forged. The fire doesn't brag about its heat. The hammer doesn't announce the strike. The process is unseen, but the result is undeniable. That's how you should move. Quietly, deliberately, without the need to prove or explain, because those who talk too much about power rarely have it. When you hold your intentions close, you begin to feel an unfamiliar kind of freedom, the absence of interference. The world can't manipulate what it doesn't understand. Silence becomes a shield, privacy becomes protection, and when your actions finally surface, they speak louder than any promise you could have made. This doesn't mean isolation, it means precision. Share less with those who listen out of curiosity instead of care. Reveal only what serves the moment, and nothing more. The Stoics were not cold, they were cautious. They understood that words are energy, and energy given freely can be used against you. Epictetus warned, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's the hidden power of restraint. While others rush to prove themselves, you're content to be underestimated. You don't correct their assumptions, you use them. Their doubt becomes your cover. Their noise becomes your silence. And in silence, your advantage grows. When you speak less, your presence deepens. People start wondering what you're thinking, what you're planning, how you stay calm while others chase attention. That mystery unsettles manipulators because they can't read what's invisible. It makes them hesitate. And hesitation is the moment you win. I've seen it time and again. The quiet one in the room, overlooked, dismissed, underestimated. Yet, when the time comes, they act decisively, flawlessly, without hesitation. While others are still talking, they've already moved. And when they finish, there's nothing left to say. That is the Stoic advantage, not noise, but precision. So guard your intentions the way a warrior guards his blade. Keep it sheathed until it's time to strike. Let your work be your statement, your calm be your answer, your results be your voice. In a world addicted to exposure, secrecy is power. The less they know, the more control you have. Speak little, move sharply. Let outcomes reveal what words never could. The Stoic doesn't chase recognition. He simply walks in silence until his steps become undeniable. And from that mastery, we step into the final lesson where every mask falls away, every game loses meaning, and manipulation turns into your greatest teacher. At last, the noise falls behind you. The people who once drained you have gone quiet. You've stopped reacting, stopped explaining, stopped trying to fix what was never yours to fix. Now you stand still, looking back not with anger, but with understanding. What once wounded you now teaches you. That's the turning point, the Stoic shift from victim to master. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Manipulation, betrayal, deception, these are not curses. They are teachers in disguise. Each one reveals something about you where your peace was fragile, where your ego was loud, where your boundaries were too soft. The Stoic doesn't resent those lessons. He absorbs them. He transforms pain into perception. I remember someone who used to provoke me just to watch me lose control. The more I fought back, the more power I gave them. One day, I did something different. I said nothing. I observed. I watched their words fall apart under their own weight. That day, I realized the truth. No one can manipulate what they cannot move. Epictetus once wrote, "Circumstances don't make the man, they reveal him. Every attempt to control you shows what still controls your heart." If guilt pulls you back, it's not their fault, it's your attachment. If anger consumes you, it's not their weapon, it's your wound. The Stoic learns to see these moments not as attacks, but as mirrors. Each reflection invites refinement. Seneca taught, fire tests gold, adversity tests the brave. And manipulation is that fire. It burns, yes, but only what is weak. What remains is pure, disciplined, and unbreakable. The manipulator thinks they've won, but in truth, they've only shaped your endurance. You walk away stronger, quieter, harder to reach. True mastery isn't in fighting deception, it's in no longer being deceived. It's the calm awareness that sees every game before it begins and chooses not to play. You no longer fight for truth, you stand as it. When you reach that point, nothing they say can pull you down. You've reclaimed every part of yourself they once tried to own. Your time, your calm, your worth. You see the same old tricks, but they no longer sting. You've seen behind the mask. The Stoic doesn't seek revenge. He seeks wisdom. He turns what was meant to humiliate him into material for growth. And when the world sees his calm, it won't understand how he endured. But he will know, because he turned every attempt to break him into proof that he cannot be broken. That is Stoic mastery. Quiet, unshakable. Born not from avoiding the fire, but from walking through it, untouched. And from this calm strength, we walk into the stillness that no manipulator can reach, the silence that belongs only to those who've mastered themselves. When you arrive here, something inside you shifts. The noise that once ruled your mind begins to fade. The people who once pulled your strings now feel small, distant, powerless. You realize they never truly controlled you. It was your reaction that gave them strength. And now, you've taken it back. Every manipulation, every betrayal, every silent test of your patience, they weren't meant to destroy you. They were meant to reveal you, to show where your peace was fragile, where your boundaries were weak, and where your silence could finally become power. The Stoics knew this long ago. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. That truth is your armor. You've learned to see clearly without reacting, to let time expose what others try to hide, and to remain steady when the world tries to shake you. You've learned that silence isn't surrender, it's strategy. It's the language of strength spoken by those who no longer need to explain themselves. And when you begin to live from that calm, you stop chasing fairness in unfair places. You stop searching for closure in people who feed on confusion. You no longer rush to prove your worth or defend your truth. You simply walk in peace. Because peace is not weakness. It's proof that you've mastered what once controlled you. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Freedom isn't about winning arguments. It's the quiet dignity of not needing to. It's the strength to walk away, not to escape, but to protect what is sacred inside you. The moment you stop reacting, manipulation loses its breath. You are no longer part of the game. You've outgrown it. So take this moment. Let your stillness speak louder than any defense. Let your calm become the silence that ends their control. If these words resonated, take a breath, subscribe, and keep walking this Stoic path towards strength and clarity. Every lesson will take you deeper into mastery. And before you go, leave 2 words in the comments: stay calm. Let it remind you that silence isn't emptiness, it's power contained. You've learned how to win without fighting. Now, carry that calm into what comes next. The journey has just begun.